And then we'll follow that by the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there any items to be added or removed tonight, Dr. Hitchens?
There are not.
All right, then I'm super excited to start by celebrating successes. I would like to invite Tim McDermott and the K-Kids group from Alice Gustafson Elementary.
All right, welcome. Thanks for having us. So I have Miss Stewart here, and we have 3 students from 5th graders from AGS. We have Avery, Zach, and Logan, who were all on K-Kids last year. So at the beginning of last year, we had an open stipend position at AGS, which was someone to sponsor K-Kids. And so I asked our staff, is anyone interested? And Ellen here said, sure, that sounds awesome. So she took the reins, and I'll have her just talk to you a little briefly about what K-Kids is, and then our students are going to talk about their experience last year, what they did for AGS and the community.
So, good evening. I didn't know I was going to speak, but I'll do my best. It was just the kids. When Tim sent out the email saying there was this stipend position, it was only my 2nd year at AGS, and I thought for sure somebody else would jump on it. So I didn't answer, and then he sent out another email, and I had done a lot of service projects with student council at Louise White School, and I've really been missing that opportunity. I taught there for about 18 years. I don't know the exact amount of years. It was a long time. And so I joined K-Kids, and Mrs. Susan Bauer, who's a retired Batavia teacher, is in charge of all the K-Kids group, and she came in tearfully the first time we met and said, we finally have K-Kids at every elementary school. She said, you have made my dream come true. So right there, that's what I've done. So we just started feeling out kind of what K-Kids do and kind of what we were expected to do, and the kids came up with some projects, and we just did things to serve our community and our greater community, and that's what the kids are going to tell you about.
Go ahead, guys.
Since K-Kids was new to AGS last fall, we really didn't know what to expect when we joined. But what we learned is that with everyone's help at AGS, we did big and little things that made a difference in our school, to Batavia, and beyond. Some things we accomplished. We recycled over 2,000 markers that were turned into clean energy.
We collected and sorted over 100 pounds of plastic caps to get our school a second bench made from recycled caps. Look for the benches on Carl Street and by the old office stores.
We saved hundreds of pounds of waste from landfills through TerraCycle. We made Happy New Year cards for senior citizens and placemats for families who needed to be cheered up at Ronald McDonald House.
In February, we collected over 30 bags of groceries for the food pantry.
We sang a song from our spring musical at the Kiwanis Spaghetti Dinner. During our spring Spirit Week, we raised nearly $400 for Make-A-Wish.
As we hold our first meeting this year, tomorrow after school, we look forward to growing in our service to AGS, Batavia, and beyond by doing many of the same projects and adding more.
Good job.
Good job. Do you guys have any questions?
Could you just talk maybe a little bit about what K-Kids is?
Oh, I did leave that out. I'm sorry. K-Kids is the elementary school level for Kiwanis International. So it's like Key Club at the high school, Builders Club. Avery's sister was in Key Club. She's now at Illinois State. Builders Club at the middle school, and K-Kids at the elementary school level.
I just didn't know everybody would say that.
That's okay. No.
What was your favorite project last year? Probably recycling the caps. That was really fun.
Yeah, going through, like
Every single one.
Yeah.
Make sure it was acceptable. That's a hard job. Every single one.
How many do you have to collect for the bench?
100 pounds.
Oh,
That's a lot.
what do you think's on the agenda this year?
What would you like to see happen?
Maybe like more caps.
All right.
That's definitely a goal.
Do you have anything planned?
I was unavailable for a while to start, so we're starting a little later than we hoped.
Okay.
Our
That's all
first
right.
meeting's tomorrow.
Come up with something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge K-12 fan, so we're waiting to see you go to Builders Club next year, and the K-12 in high school. Those are
Keep up the good
those are
work.
awesome.
Good job, you guys. Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we did not have any public comment tonight? All right, then I would like to invite Todd Swanson, President of the meeting, to come join us at the table.
Hello, everyone. Happy fall, officially now. Just a couple of quick announcements for everyone that starting Monday and going through October 10th, it begins the flexible conference schedule. So parents will be meeting with their teachers, and a lot of the children in the classrooms will be meeting with their parents as well to have the fall round of conferences. So that's upcoming on the
Is that
agenda.
everywhere, Todd, or is that just elementary? I'm sorry that I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
Is that just elementary, or is that everywhere?
Well, that is a great question. Brad?
It's technically everyone.
It is everyone, but mostly elementary, yeah. So I guess I'm speaking from the elementary perspective. A couple other things that are really exciting. So this is directly related to the work that we are doing together with ACEs and being trauma informed here in Batavia, and how we are really leaders not only in Kane County but in the state as well. So Amy Biancarri, who is past PEA president and a teacher at high school, has just been appointed, just actually came out yesterday, I think. It was like the news release, but she's been appointed by Governor Pritzker to be on a statewide task force. It's a 27-member statewide task force that is for the affirmation and inclusive schools task force that will look into creating strategies and practices for ensuring safe, welcoming, supportive, and inclusive schools for all students, especially those who identify as transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming. So she was handpicked by Governor Pritzker to be on that task force. So if you see Amy, please congratulate her on that huge honor. I know we're very proud of her and the work that she's done in those fields, so that's great. And then I guess I'm going to add my own little horn to toot here. I, on the same vein with ACEs, have actually been asked by the IEA to draft a legislative policy amendment that's going to be presented next spring at the Representative Assembly about a legislative platform change for the IEA to recognize the importance of informing teachers on the practices of ACEs and trauma-informed schools and social-emotional learning. So my job will be to draft the amendment language, to present it on the floor at the RA in front of the entire statewide assembly, and then it will go to a vote where everybody in the state will vote on it and hopefully adopt that as part of our legislative platform. So Amy was asked and I was asked by IEA and by the governor, knowing that the work that we're doing here for kids in Batavia is leading through the state. So I think that speaks a lot for what we're doing here in our own home. So that's great news to share. So the only other thing that I have too is kind of a moment of silence thing as well. And I don't know how many of you know this, but on September 13th, a colleague of mine in Indian Prairie, his name was Paul Gamboa, he was the president of the Indian Prairie Teachers Association, passed away very suddenly after a very, very short illness. And so he did a lot of work for IEA and promoting safe schools and issues for children. He was a champion for that. So just to make everybody aware of that, he was a great man and his legacy will live on. So just wanted to make you guys know.
Thanks for sharing,
Thanks.
Todd. Todd, congratulations, because I know how passionate you have been in
Thanks.
that work, and that is really
I'm
exciting.
so excited. I couldn't believe that I was asked. So it was great. Thank you.
And it's really a great comment on the work we've done. And so thank you so
I
much
agree.
for that. I think it's really important as parents, as board member, as a teacher in a neighboring district. I really respect your value that.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to hear from, but before I let them speak, I just want to I have a little inside information, tiny little shout out to Olivia, who was named Tennis Player of the Week for her level this week. So that was very exciting. But Olivia and Joe are going to tell us what's going on in high school.
She's going to I don't know. On my email? Yeah. Oh, God.
technical difficulty. That would be me.
Alright, so I'm gonna have to give this to you because I don't have that.
Tony, because he was looking at
Oh, he's got it? Alrighty, guys.
somebody. Okay.
Oh, how about that? I am so sorry.
No worries.
Here we go. And we're off. Send. He's got it. My responsibilities are now done.
Perfect. I know it's a new thing, but I feel like I like the PowerPoint so you can see the visuals. Okay, all right, I'm glad.
Is it a PowerPoint or is it a Google sheet?
It's a Google slide. We have two because there's been a lot of happenings at the high school. Two for today.
Two for the price of one.
I have it.
Two for the price of one.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Oof. Nice.
So then, next one. There you go. So last week was homecoming week, and over the weekend was homecoming, so there has been a lot of buzz around the school. So last Sunday was Paint the Town, and you can see beautiful senior windows, but that was not just the Panera windows, it was all through downtown. I'm sure you guys saw it. It was a lot of fun. And that's always a really awesome way for the clubs to come out and bond as a community. And then that Monday, so a week ago yesterday, was Class Olympics. The seniors won. But then there was the homecoming parade on Wednesday, and then the homecoming assembly was on Friday. And there's a quick video clip if you click on the orange drumline video. That was the drumline doing their thing with their blindfolds. It was really cool. The school really liked it. It's just
That's awesome.
It was really fun. I think that homecoming week this year was went off without a hitch. Everyone really liked it, and yeah. Now Joe's gonna take over.
All right. So hello. On the 20th, we had our homecoming game against Glenmore North. We won. So that was a big Spirit-y event. The next day was the dance. Normal attendance. It was a lot of fun. Now for future events, this Friday, we have an away game at Moreville South. On the 28th, there's a marching band competition at NIU. And actually, on the 14th, marching band had a competition where Color Guard took first place, and overall, we got third place for our class. So that was pretty cool.
And then also a couple weeks ago, we found out that the senior class has 3 National Merit Scholars. Alyssa Chu all the way to the right, and then Kyle Wolford in the middle, who also got a perfect 36 on his ACT, and then Devin O'Toole on the left. And to qualify as a National Merit Scholar, you need to get a 1430 on your PSAT, followed by almost a perfect score on the second round of PSAT for NSQ letters. And so the 3 of them were able to do that, which opens up a lot of paths for them and scholarship opportunities, but it's very impressive seeing that it's a very difficult test to almost ace completely. So that was another great academic feat. Yeah, that's all we got.
Thanks, guys. Definitely like the visuals.
I'm glad.
Thank you. All right, then we'll go to board member committee reports. Sue, we'll start with you.
I'm not, guys. He's heading on it, so I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Tomorrow.
No.
And you worked with Fanny out, but let John talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
I have 2 meetings on Thursday, but nothing since the last meeting.
Okay.
I am new to the stipend committee this year. We've met a couple times. It's a really very hard-working committee. Not really anything to report right now. They are have some stipends that need to be filled, and I'll keep you updated.
Insurance committee met. I'm new on insurance. I'm all about that. It's like numbers and analyzing things and very exciting. But we're moving forward with some stuff, so that's all I can report now. Greg?
I came dangerously close to attending my first one, but there was a tornado watch that intervened. So I appreciate, because I actually found out before anything official from you, and then went home to make sure my child was huddled in the basement. He was. The computer was there, but he was too. So.
I attended my first BLEC meeting
It was very exciting, very hardworking group, and lots of new and exciting things going on this year. Just getting started.
The Hall of Honor was last Thursday, and it was very nice. We had a nice crowd, great speeches, and thank everybody that participated in it. And Dr. Hitchens, who's the chair, did a fabulous job, as always. And I just would like to put out there that nominations are up and going for next year. So if you know someone, please nominate someone.
Right, people had some suggestions at the Hall of Honor event. They said, how about this person? And we would say, well, please nominate them, because that's how the committee makes their decision, based on the people that are nominated. So don't just think that we know about these people. Write them down, fill out an application or nomination form.
All right, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, which is an opportunity for us to approve all of our routine business items with one vote. All of the items are detailed in the board report, and we'll ask Mr. Pierce to take us through the consent agenda.
Brad just noted that he was sad that he was not able to do this tonight.
You did a really good job last time.
I've been told that. 5.1 and 5.2 is the approval of the August 20th, 2019 regular and closed session meeting minutes. 5.3 and 5.4, approval of the September 17th, 2019 special meeting and closed session minutes. 5.5 is our personnel report. 5.6 is our monthly payroll and bills. 5.7 is the destruction of our closed session recordings from February 20th of 2018. We had one donation of note this past month, over $2,000 donated by Kermit Carlson for the BHS Music Department, so we're thankful for that. 5.9 is a memorandum of understanding with Beefy. 5.10 is the approval of the administrator and teacher's salary and benefits report that goes on our website due to state law. And then lastly, 5.11 is the approval of the consent agenda.
All right, so are there any items on the agenda to be removed or would require further clarification? Questions? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Blakely, second by Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Now we're on to reports. Dr. Hitchens.
So there's 3 reports tonight. Carrie's going to, if you guys want to start setting up, the first 2 go pretty quickly because these first 2 reports show up every month. They are the FOIA requests that we show you what we got for the month. And then Tony is the treasurer for the Board of Education, and he puts together some reports for you every month. So do you have questions on either of those 2 reports? Right, recurring reports every month. So our third report is Building Our Future Together, an update from DLR Group. Carrie and a few members from her team are here. And behind them are about half, more than half, it looks like, of the core team that had their first meeting, and they're in the audience right now to hear the rest of the presentation and to support DLR Group and learn about phase 2. But Tony is actually going to introduce.
If I'm while you're doing that, I need to get a hard connection because I'm not, the streaming doesn't.
Is it on the, do you want to give it to me? Is it jump up? I
can put it on.
Do you need, what is it that you're going to show?
If I can connect.
The power, isn't that what I'm showing right now?
You know, there's probably the updated, just those couple slides, right?
It's fine. Well, this is not going to have the end. It's probably fine. We can work. We can do this.
Flexible, I don't care. I don't roll with things very well.
Yeah, good job.
So we're joined here by DLR Group to help us, as they have for since early May, late April, as we've begun building our future together, educational master facilities plan. And how we got to now is, well, we've got 2 new board members since I gave this little spiel last, and so it'll be new to them, but the rest of the board, I'm sure you're probably going to roll your eyes because you've heard this several times. But it's important to say for those of us that might not have been aware or just figuring out why we're doing this. There's oftentimes questions, and the community deserves to know because these schools belong to the community, and we want to make sure that the community is involved in taking care of them and providing for them in ways that make sense for our students. And it kind of starts way back in the mid-1980s, when the first, as far as we can tell, Educational Facilities Commission was formed. And depending on how you count, this committee that we formed and is joining us here tonight is probably the 8th commission that's working on this very thing, these master facilities plans. So the work that the committee has begun, the commission that had begun in the 80s, basically formed a plan that we used all right up to the point where we finished the additions of the high school in 2009, 2010. And after that, the plan was largely complete, and there was nothing that really existed after that. We did pull together another group that took a look at athletic facilities at the high school and put together a kind of a master plan for that, but that was just a small subset of the over 1,000 square feet that the school district takes care of for educational facilities. It's, as far as I can tell, by the time we actually take any action on this and we start doing any building, any major renovations of any kind, or whatever the result of this plan actually is, it will probably be the longest interval of time that Batavia has seen since we've undertaken such work. So the last time we've gone this long without upgrading our facilities or building new facilities is since the early 1950s. So we've got some work to do. We're excited to undertake it. We don't necessarily have any prescribed actions in mind. People often say, are we working on toward a referendum? And the answer is no, and not necessarily. We're looking at how we use space, and we're trying to make sure that the spaces fit the needs of our students first, and how we might actually execute that plan. It will come later when it comes to funding and whatnot. And I'm sure this will be a long-term plan that we'll have to continue to revisit, as has been the case since the mid-1980s. As I've mentioned, there's been probably 8 of these commissions that look at these facilities, and they didn't come up with a perfect plan in the mid-1980s. They kept revising it over the years to get to their destination. And I'm very certain that that's exactly what the work that we're undertaking here now.
Thanks, Mike. Well, just to reintroduce and introduce myself to new faces, again, I'm Carrie Van Sant. I'm an architect and project manager with DLR Group. With me tonight is Bonnie Sanborn. She's an environmental psychologist, and she's DLR Group's design research leader. Just recapping what is an educational master facility plan. Traditionally, master facility plans are looking at bricks and mortar, looking at your building systems, looking at maintenance needs, providing a plan and a trajectory to maintain your facilities. The difference with an educational master facility plan is it's looking at your educational adequacy today and your educational readiness going forward, and really looking to ensure lasting value to the community, to the students, to the staff, aligning the goals from that educational vision with the form and function of the building. As we reiterated to the core team members earlier tonight, DLR Group's focus is not a one-size-fits-all approach to the projects that we design and engineer, but an understanding that we don't want to take a program and stick it in a box and call it good. Although we know our teachers are amazing teachers and they can teach anywhere and with anything, they shouldn't have to. They should have the tools and the facilities they need to be able to do their jobs easily and effectively so that they can focus on educating students. So, just a quick recap of the master facilities plan process is that phase 1, deeper understanding. We got to really know what was happening in the district. That was back in May. We did an update. Jason Lemke was here to provide an update for that, and we did some community share-outs at Rotolo Middle School and here at Administrative Center. That included a number of assessments and surveying, as well as understanding what's happening in the classroom today. I encourage you, the district is doing a fabulous job of keeping up information on the website for Building Our Future Together with the master plan process name. And so there are links to that presentation and the dashboard of findings for each of the school. If you need a refresher, it would be a good place to go. Phase 2 is where we're at today, and we've started it and we've gone through some of the things you'll see in the next slide. It's really understanding where the district wants to go. What's that vision? We're discovering, exploring what's happening, where the district wants, whether it's teachers and students want to see themselves in the next 10 plus years, but also giving an opportunity for core team members and primary users to understand what's happening in education regionally, locally, around the world, and understanding also what's happening when those students transition out of high school here at Batavia High School, and where might they go, and what are the skills that they need to get there, and how do they help that, and what are the spaces that inform and assist that educational delivery. Phase 3 is programming, and for some of you that term might not be familiar. That is an architectural term where we work to understand the gap, so to speak, between where you are today, where you want to go in the future, and spatially, the program space list is coming up with a list of space types depending on a particular program or programs you have within a facility, what the size of those spaces are needed, the adjacencies needed to be able for them to properly function, and how many of those spaces are needed. So we're sitting in a large conference room, it's dividable. We're near front entry receptions. It's also looking at spaces like offices and toilets and the necessities of the building. So this is our, internally, DLR group will work with the administrative leadership team to understand where those gaps are and build that program to get you to the spaces and space types you need after this phase. Phase 4 and Phase 5 are conceptualizing and developing options. So that's working with the core team and taking everything we've learned today and working through scenarios to understand how do we make this program work with the buildings we have today, and what shifts might be necessary with the spaces that we have. And some of these buildings are older buildings, some of them are newer buildings, but as we know from educational, changes in education and curriculum delivery, those space types might not be as flexible as they need to be, or they might need to adjust to be able to meet the needs of today and into the future. This is an opportunity where we'll do share outs with the community. So the core team will assist in sharing out with the various community sessions to get feedback from the community, because we want this to be an open process. We want stakeholder engagement, and we want community members at the end of the day to understand the value of this planning process and what comes out of it for the students of Batavia. From there's a refinement period where we take that feedback from those community sessions and we work with the core team to say, okay, well, we heard these, people are in support of this, people are not so in support of this. How do we massage that, refine it, make some changes, refine those concepts and options, and then take it back out to the community again to get feedback. Ultimately, at the end of the educational master facility plan process, is that the core team, in conjunction with the leadership team, will recommend to you, the board, some options or options to move forward with a plan to implement for the district. And now I want to make sure that it's clear that it will be the core team and an administrative leadership team that presents that to you, because we as DLR Group, it is not our plan. We're here to facilitate and provide research and information and help guide the core team to solutions and concepts along the way, but it really is Batavia's plan. Is there any questions on the process so far? Okay. So, Phase 2 activities so far. Values workshop, I'll talk a little bit more on that. There was a sustainability charrette that we did with invitation to various stakeholder groups. Curriculum and instruction workshops with each of the cohort levels, elementary, middle, and high school, as well as a group of students. And so that's that student ideation exercise. Core team kickoff was tonight. We have a fabulous group of core team members. As a local resident, and I'm excited to see all of the various core team members that are here tonight representing many different backgrounds and experiences within Batavia, so that we have great guidance moving forward. And then just a plug, and we were plugging it all night, so it was a definite takeaway from the core team members, but the Global Perspectives is our community open house on Thursday, and is where we'll dive into even more detail than what you see tonight. So you're getting high-level kind of summary information tonight from these activities that Bonnie will explain a little bit further. But you'll get more detail, and you'll kind of get a bigger picture of what's happening in the district, some of which you'll already know. But some of it will be new information, and it also gives us an opportunity to take the pulse of the community and find out what they're thinking through surveying in that live form. And then we have core team meetings going into the fall, and planning for local and regional tours so that the core team and administrative team have opportunities to see what's happening in other districts and how they're using their facilities. And that might be K-12, it might be higher ed, it might be workplace. The opportunities for tours are vast, and as you know here, there's a lot of opportunities for local careers and that in the Batavia and Northern Illinois region. So it gives the core team an opportunity to see where those students might be going once they leave Batavia School District, and help prepare them when they leave. Okay, so values. Values was held in early September. This is a workshop. It's a sustainability workshop the DLR group developed. It is an acronym. Values is an acronym for viewing architecture through the lens of user experience and sustainability. That's the acronym. So we started asking with the group, and again, this group was a group of students, a majority from the Eco Club at the high school, but there was some representation of other students from the high school, community members and business partners, as well as staff and teachers. So it was a collection of different stakeholder groups, and they were invited to talk about sustainability and the user experience within the district and what sustainability means to them. And you'll see some different themes that arrived out of that workshop. But this was a 3-hour workshop where we presented on different sustainability measures and things related to indoor environmental quality, to energy use, to what's happening globally with changes in the climate and the weather, and how that impacts buildings and how we use energy today. And then, so this is a wordle of what sustainability meant to those various stakeholders. You'll see renewable pop up, looking at energy, efficiency, planning for tomorrow. Those were some of the terms that really stood out.
So I'll just frame this a little more as well, so especially the new board members can understand where we're coming from. DLR Group is an Architecture 2030 signatory, which means we've committed to sustainability goals for all of our projects. We have this conversation with our clients instead of talking about LEED and other certifications, because the certification is not the goal. We want to know what parts of the actual activities and designs in those certifications are valuable to Batavia versus a different school district or a different client. So we want to start the conversation there, and Carrie will show you some of the activities we did with them, but really the goal is on what brings the most value to Batavia, what does sustainability look like here, so that we don't get short-circuited by talking about certifications and plaques.
Yeah, and I'll talk more on that. Thanks, Bunch. One of the activities we did with the groups was to, if you were to envision where is Batavia 10 years from now, what are the headlines in the Kane County Chronicle about what Batavia or the district is doing sustainability or energy performance-wise, what would that headline be? And so we've got headlines from each of the stakeholder groups with the community, the students, and the staff here talking about the first net zero K-12 school opens in Batavia, the last gasoline-based vehicle leaves Batavia, all electric and solar vehicles, working towards carbon neutrality. These students were these were an amazing group of students. I just have to tell you, some of the things that came out of these activities from that group were really phenomenal. And then 100% renewable with power, and also taking a look at San Divided Carbon. So this helped kind of get the juices flowing for the activities and the discussion during the workshop. And then as part of the workshop, we played a values card game. So that it's a game that DLR Group developed that has a list of key performance indicators or sustainability measures and goals, where there's 100 or so different particular items the groups could choose from, and they sorted out the ones that they felt weren't as applicable, or they might just be, baseline items that have to be done anyway, but really focused and targeted on sustainability, key performance indicators that they could see making positive change within the district and the community. And the students, staff, and community and business partners, these are a summary out of those 100 or so particular items that they could choose from. These are the ones that they selected and they prioritized as being most important when it comes to talking about sustainability and user experience in the future. Just to recap the students, only because this was the first time that students have ever, actually I think anyone has ever brought these two particular items to the forefront of the discussion, let alone it be students. But behavior modification and life cycle cost was exciting to see from them, because they really understood that if we understand the change, we can take that to other people, we can take that home, we can take that to our community groups, that we can modify our behaviors and how we're doing things and how we're using energy and a number of different things, and we can create great change. And so I thought that was pretty phenomenal. And then we explained the difference of an initial cost versus life cycle cost of a system or finishes or materials, and they really understood it. They caught on to that, and they're like, yeah, that's important. We need to make sure that we're investing smartly and that we understand the big picture of our investment for the future. We had some the teaching staff was really thought that it was really important to incorporate biophilic design, so incorporating nature into the interior spaces, but also having that connection to the outdoor environment as throughout the day. And then both groups focusing on energy, and with the community also looking at risk mitigation and adaptation and building performance. So these kind of work together, but those were the themes that came out of that workshop. So it was really exciting to see that and have that interaction with these students. So now Bonnie will give a summary on some of our curriculum and instruction workshops. Actually, I think I got it switched. So I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna do this really quick, and then I'm gonna pass it to Bonnie. So when we first met in May with the leadership team, we had a discussion on curriculum and instruction and wanted to understand, sort of a SWOT analysis, if you will, but different terminology, the strengths, challenges, opportunities, and concerns the district leadership team felt they had here in Batavia, as well as asking the question at each of the curriculum and instruction workshops with the various teacher groups. So we didn't do this with the students. Felt it was a little outside of probably what they could understand within the district, but had that discussion. And in yellow are where we have some overlaps of some concerns and strengths, with technology integration and blended learning being a strength. And also discussions around, these are great strengths, but there are also opportunities to keep building and improving upon those, and how do we make sure that we have effective social emotional learning happening all across the board and meeting all students where they need to do that. So it was a great exercise, and it was neat to kind of see the overlap of these. Yeah.
What's the difference between the blue and the brown?
So the blue, tried to correlate it here. The blue is our initial leadership team meeting, so with Dr. Hitchens and staff. And then the C&I, the curriculum instruction workshops with each of the cohort levels, so elementary, middle, and high. This is a summary of all of them, so not one in particular. Yeah. All right, now curriculum.
Okay. So as Carrie said, this is really an educational master facility plan. So we need to start with understanding how teaching and learning happens in Batavia, the opportunities that teachers have, the passions that they have, but also the requirements and the pressures that they are under. While also bringing in some of that research about the different demands on teaching and learning today, the different challenges students face during their K-12 career and when they graduate. One of the things that we do is talk about student pathways. So in order to talk about teaching future students, we want to help people empathize with future students, and we did what's called persona creation. So we do this, we create some imaginary people with the teachers and fill in as much detail about them as possible, not only whether they're headed to college, university, maybe heading straight into a career, or some uniquely Batavia pathways that we created with the teachers, but also what are their personal learning challenges, what are their strengths, where do they need a teacher to push them, and where are they really self-motivated. What do they like? What do they dislike? What encourages them or discourages them? As much detail as we can fill in to create these people in our heads so that we can then do the next activity I'll show you around mapping out how those people learn and how teachers want to teach them. So just some examples of the over 20 future student personas we created. We have a particular student who, I think this was the high school group, so the student is headed to college and knows it, but is extremely anxious about all of the decisions and funding and pressure and perfection, needs some help dealing with that, but is very academically self-motivated. Another student who really is driven to succeed but needs a lot more support to get there on a daily basis. Not very self-motivated, but very driven to succeed. We have a lot of students starting in the workforce, which especially in Batavia is a great, cool conversation because there's so many local careers that are, I find, absolutely fascinating, but we had a couple. One student who's entering the family business, this imaginary student, their family has a business here in Batavia, and that person's goal is to go work with their family and support that. Versus somebody who's graduating with a certification in a trade. In this case, it was a girl who was passionate about hairdressing and learning it while in high school. Then we have some students on unique paths. This comes up more and more often. Entrepreneurship was the hottest topic, so students who were graduating based on a real student here in Batavia who graduated and started his own business, versus some people who are going straight into freelance. They want to be a graphic designer, or maybe they want to design web pages and they're going to try that on their own. Then we had some undecided students who were doing a gap year service program like AmeriCorps. All of these people imaginary and in the future, but populated with enough detail that those teachers can use their expertise in teaching and learning and supporting students to create some activities for them. So here are some of your teachers doing that, actually in this very room, I think, yes, at this table. This is yet another card activity because those work really well for a lot of different user groups. This is a card activity that we've developed as a part of a research collaboration that we have with the University of Melbourne and the Australian government's Innovative Learning Environments and Teacher Change Network. So this has been play tested, as it were, with teachers, with researchers, and students at various stages. You'll see some different learning activities listed out here. One says physical activity. That means something like PE, or maybe playing the violin or doing a drama class where we move around a lot. There is, down in blue, focused study, those things where we really need to direct our attention and not be disrupted, and practicing agency, which is a very important goal for Batavia as a district. All of these are separated out as learning activities for two reasons. One is that different things are happening in our brains and for our bodies when we're doing them. So we're in a different type of thought or a different type of learning. And we might have some physical different needs, like the ability to interact with equipment or the ability to run around and not bump into things. The other reason is that these are things teachers can lesson plan out and try to plan for and encourage, and they're things that we as people who like to shadow students as a part of our job, that we can see happening. We can't tell what's happening inside a student's mind, how engaged they are, how much fun they're having, what kind of day they're having. We can see if they are trying to present versus trying to listen. So it's just kind of a way to keep us focused on the right thing. We also look at and track transition time between classrooms and housekeeping time, that's sort of putting stuff away and getting stuff out in the classroom. We also had a blank card. So every curriculum and instruction workshop broke into groups. They did this activity based on the person they created, that future student in Batavia, and the pathway they were on. And we got a lot of different learning maps out of it. The two common themes were a lot of project cycles. So not static schedules that are the same every day of the week, but students moving along a cycle of brainstorming and research, building and making, collaborating, presenting and performing, reflecting and starting over. A lot of that rinse and repeat learning of making something happen and then sharing it with the world. We also saw a lot of students who were getting upfront guidance from the teacher, direct instruction, or the new skills that they needed to make something happen, and then launching into a really self-motivated activity where it was their responsibility to use what they just learned to complete a task. So these were two big themes that came out of this workshop. We will share a lot more global perspectives. But we do this to try to understand how your teachers see meeting the needs of learners and the future that they're headed out to, not just today and not in the past, but definitely keeping that focus on the future. The next activity that we did with actually the students as well and all of the teacher groups is what we call the cultural continuum. So these are just word pairs. The left side is not better or worse than the right side. They're just opposing pairs of words like open and closed. After going through the 2 hours with the teachers, we do this at the end to ask them culturally, as a district, where do you see Batavia now? And if you're going to deliver what you just described to these learners of the future, where do we need to shift? The blue is now, the yellow is the future, and the arrow kind of indicates the direction of movement. The longer the line, the bigger shift was represented by the responses we got. It's important to pay attention to the long arrows because that's something we can try to help shift through space changes. It's also really important to pay attention to the very short ones. This is something that is working well, and we might not want to disrupt it as we change things for the future. So this is from the elementary school. Some big shifts toward innovative teaching, learning, innovative spaces, a lot more in the community, which was a huge theme throughout all of these workshops. But making sure that we kind of don't move from a balance between open and closed learning, for example. On the middle school spectrum, a lot of big movement here, kind of shifting things in directions from where they are, but most of the directions are the same as the elementary school. Moving toward the innovative, flexible environments, moving toward the community. There will be copies of all of this. You do not have to memorize it. The same themes for the high school, moving in this really strong direction toward innovative, flexible, personalized, in the community, and some smaller shifts so that we stay balanced on some of the important topics. Before I go to the student slide, I'm going to draw your attention just to these two arrows at the bottom. This one shifting away from individual toward group achievement, and this other one shifting away from owned toward shared. The teachers had very similar responses here, but when I click over to the students, this is the only one where the student arrows go the opposite direction of the teacher arrows. And this is unusual because a lot of the stereotypes currently about millennials and Gen Y, Alpha, Z, X, so on, I'm Gen X, is that they are focused on group achievement and sharing. And what we're seeing here from students is a push toward some individual achievement emphasis and some ownership. I think that's something we want to explore more through phase 2. Then we did an activity with each group, and in fact we just did it again with the core team, so we will add in their word cloud next time you see this, where we asked them 10 years from now, much like that headline activity, if we're successful with the process we're embarking on today, what do we see? What does the district offer? What do we feel and experience if things went well? The first group we asked about was for students. What are we able to offer students in the district? What do they see and what is their life like? The bigger the word, the more responses we got in that category. It doesn't mean they don't have it right now, but it certainly means we want to keep seeing it in the future. I love the humble. Somebody put humble. That's really great. Next, we asked for teachers. So really keeping the great teachers that Batavia has, giving them the space to do their work and making sure we listen to their voice. But I was overwhelmed by the number of responses that said the teachers will know it went well if their students are succeeding. So students is also a really big word on here. And a lot of emphasis on teachers being able to collaborate with one another. Change ready, also a very good theme as we embark on a big change process. And lastly, the community, because the school is a part of the community and the community is a part of the school. The biggest themes here were relationships between the schools and people in the community. Having a connection in both directions, so the school could connect to the community, but the community could also share what they know with the school. Extending learning from the school into the community, both for students and for community members who might be doing learning activities of their own. And seeing students who are citizens of service, who stay in the community or come back to the community and just want to be involved there. Of course, cost effective is a big part of this conversation, and graduation is a big part of this conversation too. I'll hand it back to George.
Thanks, Bonnie. Do you guys have any questions? I know that was kind of a lot of information thrown at you, but we'd be happy to entertain any questions you have on the curriculum and instruction workshops and activities. Otherwise, come to Global Perspectives and learn more. So process update and next steps. This again is bringing back up the EMFT phases and where we start to meet with the core team and continue to meet with them throughout. We talked about previously where the community sessions would take place. They've taken place in phase 1, 2, 4, and 5. So this kind of gives you a timeline mapping forward. It could fluctuate depending on if we need to spend a little bit more time discovering and exploring in phase 2, or a little bit more time building options and concepts and refining them so that we get the right options to present to the board. So it's not a set in stone. We don't like to set it in stone because it's a process, and we like to put some parameters on it so we don't go wild and crazy and astray. But just so you know that this is the schedule. Another plug.
How many times can we say it?
All right. Any more questions? That's all we got.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The global input on that, is that, I can't make it, I apologize, but is that recorded or, town meeting or something along that line?
Yes. The answer is yes. And. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Improv. Yes, and.
Yes.
It will be recorded, and there will be some live polling questions that we give to the audience. That will stay available for people who are kind of watching for a short period of time afterwards as well, so we can capture that input.
Okay.
John.
Couple. On the one with the arrows.
Yes.
And this is just for maybe just me, I don't know. Is there any way to do like an overlay of it?
Yes.
Okay. The other one with the word groups, again, put them side by side or something to see it.
Sure.
Okay. And then my final question is for, I guess, the core individuals. I'm just curious. First of all, thank you for putting in the time, because I know it's a lot. But how many of you have children in the district right now? How many will have children still, let's say 5 years from now? Oh, okay. So I just want to see how that correlates to what we're doing, and if some of them are, mine's already out, so I was just curious on that. And I appreciate all the time, because I know it's a lot of time, so thank you for your work.
Could I ask whoever's on the core team to maybe just quickly introduce yourselves? I think we've done this before, but maybe if you wouldn't mind standing up and being recognized, or just mentioning your name real quick. So.
Michael Willoway. I have a daughter at Rotella Middle School and a daughter at Batavia High School. RJ Mathis. I have a daughter at HC Storm, and then one that will be there next year.
Ben Hartman, 7th and 4th grade boys, so Rotolo and AGS.
Robert Elandu, sophomore and a 7th grader.
Kevin Callahan, my kids are gone, 12 grandkids, 8 are girls, I have enough.
Eric Williams, I have 2 boys over at Hooverwood, 1st grade and 4th grade.
Mike Kelly, I have 2 boys, 7th grader and a junior at high school.
Anne Marie Barnes, my kids are gone. Been here for 30 years and I teach at Louise White.
Stop pointing in multiple directions. Nicole Prentice, principal at J.B. Nelson Elementary School in Batavia.
Bob Dietz, I'm the associate principal, and I have 2,000 kids at the high school.
We have some others.
Mark Anderson, Director of Operations. And I also have kids in the district.
Josh Gulak. They come out of the woodwork.
That's hilarious.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We really value your participation and input. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all on Thursday.
Yeah. See you on Thursday.
Feeling your presence watching video.
Yes.
I think she probably arranged for the ATV to be here.
Is that when I would be ATV?
And if not,
it will be broadcast if we so choose.
We guys don't make a space.
That makes me feel a lot better.
There's only one item on our agenda tonight for action, and that is under policy, so I will hand that over to Dr. Kitchen.
Sure, this policy, we talked about last month, and we still have a couple things we need to finalize before we make it, before we vote on it. And I tried to incorporate some of the feedback that you gave last month, but there were also differing opinions. We need to solidify what our hopes and dreams for this policy. So this policy is about public participation at school board meetings. As you can see, we have monthly school board meetings where we get the business of the district done. You guys pay bills, we have reports, etc. But at every public meeting of the board, you designate some time for public to comment. And so this policy helps govern how that portion of the meeting works. We didn't get to use it today because there was no public comment, but what you guys had mentioned is we want to make sure that we honor people who come out and give them an opportunity to speak. And so there's one time to speak at a board meeting, which is for the public to speak, which is designated on every single agenda. And then we do ask that people record their names and check in with us so we know who's speaking. That's part of the law, that we need to know who's speaking to the board. And then we limit the number of minutes to 3 minutes for every speaker. And then here's the part that we need to make a decision on. You can see I added in blue if you're looking at it in the blue line version now. And what we talked about last time was that if somebody says that they're representing a group and they would like additional minutes, so for example, I'm here on behalf of the Batavia Music Buffs, and I would like to have some additional time to tell you about our message from the Music Buffs, we would do that if they let us know in advance. Then number 3 on this policy was another decision we need to make. First of all, you'll notice that we struck where it's the board president's decision. That followed what they did in the updated press. But I think one of the board members that I talked to today mentioned that that's a good opportunity. If we are going to make a decision about shortening public comment, if there's 100 people that sign up, that would happen during that public comment time where the president would say, all right, we have 100 people signed up. It looks like we're going to need to put some parameters on tonight, and the board would do that and be transparent with the public that you're making that decision, so it wouldn't be done ahead of time. And then so the question is, do we want to allow the number of minutes to be shortened? That's the way that it's written now, that we may decide that if there's 100 people, we want to hear from as many as possible, so we're going to give everybody 2 minutes instead of 3.
So that's a decision that needs to be made. That's the way it's written right now, that we might decide to do that. And then the other decision would be, if there are 100 people that show up, how long are we going to go before we stop it? And then we will attend to the business of the board, and then we'll put it back on the agenda for at the end of the meeting to continue the public comment should anybody choose to remain to the end of the meeting. So my first question is...
That's a lot.
I know, that was a lot. So I tried to incorporate that. I did get a request to remove the word attempt, where I say an attempt will be made to reopen public comment. So
I think we committed to reopen.
Yeah, so we'll change it to say, and the board will reopen public comment at the end of the meeting, after you're done with your other agenda items. So we'll remove the vagueness and say we're going to do that. Right? The other thing is, do we want to allow the flexibility of shortening the number of minutes? So I think there's different opinions. We just need to figure out what the majority wants, and we'll change it that way.
Well, I'll speak up first. I'm not in favor of shortening. I'd rather just keep 3 minutes regardless, so if anybody comes at the last minute or they know in advance, keep it at 3 minutes. If there's going to be an opening later on in that evening to talk or put their thoughts in, for me personally, I would not shorten it anymore.
I choose B. Shorten? No, B.
What are we? So we are already going to say that the board has to have the opportunity to limit the aggregate number of minutes at the beginning.
Do we want to have the option of shortening the individual time?
No, I don't want to shorten their time.
Okay, so Sue and John say leave it at 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. But we go 30 minutes and then...
We're right. I think that was already agreed on.
So do we have to vote on two different things?
No, right now we're just do we want the board to have the flexibility to say to the crowd, there's 100 of you here, we'd like you each to shave your speech down to 2 minutes instead of 3. That's what
and John and Sue said, no, don't shave time at the beginning.
Just give everybody their 3 minutes.
And then we'll talk again. Yeah.
I think there's a benefit to allowing ourselves to have the flexibility without actually knowing what the circumstances are going to be. If we have 100 people who are coming to talk to us about a very specific issue and we know that we're going to hear a lot of similar things, is completely different than if we have people showing up for 5 different topics on a given night.
No, they're going to talk about this.
We don't know that. I mean, without knowing what's going to happen in the future or who's going to be sitting on this board, I personally would prefer to have the flexibility to decide, and the fact that we will have to discuss that as a board in front of the public is going to make us be very judicious about using that ability. I don't think that we're going to do it willy-nilly, knowing that we are making that decision and having that discussion in front of people who are going to be commenting shortly thereafter.
Other opinions?
I am generally in favor of allowing flexibility, and not because things change over time. Personally, I would probably say no in most situations on a future vote about whether our decision about whether we limit it for a specific topic or not. But I'm generally in favor of providing the flexibility for people to do what the board feels is appropriate at the time. I don't know the rules associated with that, so as far as it's consistent the whole time, or it's the second half is please try to limit for 2 minutes for those that stay near the end, because that's when we have a more likelihood of additional repeat comments, because I appreciate it. But I do think that my personal opinion is that we do need to hear everything that people say. But again, I'm leaning toward flexibility just to allow the board to have the option in the future.
I do think it's important to give everyone the opportunity, like you said, but it's also important to remember that there's many opportunities and avenues to share their opinion. Email to the board, you can write out your statement to the board. So yes, I think it's important for the 3 minutes, but there's other avenues too for people to take.
So I'm sorry, Erin, was that yes, you're in favor of, or no, you're not in favor of ever shortening the time, or you are comfortable with allowing the flexibility if you said and you wanted it?
I'm more on the flexibility side.
You can add it. I
would never be in favor of shortening somebody's time. I just don't like the idea of that.
Tina have an opinion?
Yeah, I wouldn't have changed the policy in the first place, so.
Okay.
So you would allow for flexibility of shortening time to be deemed as.
No, the way it was originally.
Yeah,
Originally before we changed anything.
Okay, right, but
Originally, we could do that.
right, originally we had the power to change the time, so that's right.
The flexibility to speak, but not the 30-minute break or anything like that after 30 minutes. That was something we added.
Oh, no, we'd always had the ability to do that, now we're just formalizing.
The stuff in blue is what Lisa added.
From
last month.
Done that, we just are formalizing it now. Like, we have caused.
Yeah, and I
caused
wasn't
rate.
for that.
Got it, got it. So even when we did it, we were like, no, we should do that. Got it.
Yeah.
So Tina
Yes.
is in favor of shortening or allowing the flexibility or sticking with the 3 minutes?
Sticking with the 3 minutes
Okay,
and not breaking up the meeting.
okay.
We're kind of all over.
Yeah, so it's
No, I
really.
So I'm saying that everybody can come and talk for 3 minutes, but I don't think we should break the meeting. So they can come talk
So I
3
would-
minutes and then,
So if 100 people comes, we're here for 300 minutes.
well, you guys, how many times have we had 100 people come and talk? I mean, really, we thought about this for a long time. When have we had 100 people
Okay, that's a
come and talk?
number, but I
So-
think the overriding concern with the breaking it up was.
You guys, you asked my opinion. I gave it.
No, I was just explaining.
Gave my opinion.
No,
I don't
was
want to
just-
rehash this. We already did this.
Except that's exactly what we're doing when we're talking policies. We're trying
I know, and I
to hash
gave
out
my
where we're
opinion.
at.
I know my foot. It's all good. Everybody go where they want to go. That's my opinion.
Okay, but we can't, I'll just do what we want to do, that's what we're trying
No,
to do. is
so
figure out
that's
what
why we have to
the
vote
consensus
on what the consensus is.
is. Right, so the first one was, I think the majority was not to allow flexibility in time. Did I count that correctly?
3 and 3.
I have 3 and 3.
Oh.
So your opinion matters.
I would argue go for flexibility every time.
Okay, so the way the policy would read would be exactly what you have in front of you if you're ready to vote on it, other than we will say we will reopen public comment after the board addresses the other agenda items.
I guess I was just confused on Tina's concerned whether or not we were all in consensus with B. Was B,
That was added to the policy. That wasn't in there before.
no, I know that, but I wasn't confident that we were on consensus with that. I know you were saying you didn't agree with it. That's why I was, were we even with that last time? I'm sorry, I lost track of where we are.
Say that again?
For B, were we all in consensus?
I thought we were, but we
Okay.
can't.
I just lost track of where we were at.
We can do a quick poll to see.
Yeah.
All right,
Were we
let's do a
good-
quick
Were we
poll.
good with B, John?
You're just taking out the words "and an attempt" to
Yeah.
be made.
And are we still comfortable, like, were we in the majority agreement that we did want the opportunity to take a break, focus on the business if we needed to?
I'm fine with that.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I had some in my governance training. I actually brought this up and talked a little bit about it with the person leading the training, and they said that they had wished that they had probably done that in some of their cases because they'd had some very large attendance in meetings because they're a very active community, and it's very important for the board to finish its behavior, its business within the day,
Right.
so that there doesn't have to be almost a point of procedure of pausing, recess, coming back a minute later at 12:01, the next day. So that one, it's a bit of an inconvenience to people. They can be told, we're going to come back, this is the time we may resume, we can be back then if you don't want to stick around for board business.
Okay. Thank you. You were not in agreement. Chris?
I agree with flexibility.
Sue?
Okay, what are you asking me about?
So we just want to confirm there was consensus for B, that we could take a break in our public comments,
I'm fine
do
with
our
B.
business. Yeah, okay.
Not A.
Okay.
Right?
So we are going to keep A because I cast the vote on that. And in general, we're in consensus with B. So the policy will be as written now with the one edit, correct?
Right.
Okay, we all understand what we're talking about now? I was
So are we voting on this?
I have one question. So in the event that there is the decision to shorten the time, how would that process look like? Would it be the president's decision, or would we would have a vote?
It's a board vote.
It'd be a board discussion, so we would gather the pink sheets and we would say, oh, we have 12 people coming to comment today. So do we want to shorten the number of minutes to 30 minutes? Probably be no in that situation. So I think it would be right prior to public comment where the board president would say, I think we need to make a decision here, and you guys would discuss it.
You're saying a 30 minutes or 3 minutes?
We could discuss probably both at that time.
Okay.
If we-
You said 30 minutes. I want to make,
Oh,
the shortening was 3 minutes.
That was the example, right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Discuss it before the meeting.
All right.
But that's
No, we would discuss both. If there's any need for us to have flexibility, we would gather the pink sheets and we'd say, hey, we've got a lot of pink sheets here. Do we want to entertain the option of either only doing 30 minutes of comments or 30 minutes of comments probably and shortening time should that need arise? And that would be our discussion. We agree on one, the other, or both, and then we would start our public comment.
Yeah, at our April board meeting, we did both.
Yes.
We shortened the number of minutes and the aggregate number of minutes, and then we reopened it at the end of the meeting.
I'm imagining they would go hand in hand if we ever use them. If we ever shortened the time, chances are pretty good it would be that we're also...
But it sounds like you might have, from even the people that agreed with the flexibility in language, it sounds like this board wants to do the full 3 minutes. But
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
Yep. But again, we have flexibility. We'll discuss it, we'll decide, we'll move forward. Yes?
So the only changes we're going to remove in Part B, the public comment will be reopened at the end instead of intent to reopen.
Correct.
Okay.
We're committing to reopening. All right, so that is the only change to that policy. So I would entertain a motion to approve the policy as presented. Policy 223. As presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Moved by Love. Okay. Second by Aaron. All in favor? I just lost control. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, can we do it?
I am not in favor.
Can we do a person by person?
Yes, let's please do a roll call vote, Kathy.
Okay. Blakely.
That was
No.
hard for me.
Gaspar.
No.
Locke.
No.
Lowe.
Yes.
Meisler.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Dremel.
Yes.
Passes.
Contentious. Very
That's
exciting.
probably been our most contentious one ever.
I don't always have to agree. All right, we will move to administrative comments.
We still have a couple things going on. I'll just again thank the court team and move on.
Comments from the board?
Shorten my.
Anyone have comments? I'm not going to go down the row. Shout out if you have comments.
Okay, I'll thank everyone for a good homecoming. I wanted to thank everybody for their communication to the board on some emails and that. And I want to thank the core group, especially the ones that are even still here. Thank you for putting in the time. And hopefully if this gets out, I don't know when this will get on TV, but if it's out before Thursday, hopefully citizens will come to Rotolo and help the process. And thank everybody here at RJAC for all the information that we worked on. That's all for me.
Thanks, John. Anyone else? Feel the need to share?
Thanks to the core team.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your work. We're really looking forward to having another plan, vision for our future.
I'm looking forward to attending Thursday and just want to say job well done on a safe homecoming.
My only comment is I appreciate the kind of moment of silence today. I've known the Nicely family I coached their kids in soccer for a bit. I've known them for a long time. And I want to give kind of accolades to the high school staff, in particular the music staff, for how they handled it. There was a very large competition that weekend, and they talked to the kids in the most respectful, almost adult-like way, allowing them to make the decisions on how best to proceed for that day for them. And it was very, very impressive, and I appreciate all the kind of training and skill that went in for them personally and for the district as a whole to work with them like that. It was impressive. So.
Thanks, Craig, with the insight that I would have. Anyone else? All right, we do have closed session on the agenda, although there will not be a vote afterwards. But I would entertain a motion to enter closed session to discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gaspar, second by Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
I won't get the giggles down. Let's go to session.